Alright everybody, hello and welcome to this guide for Blazblue Cross Tag Battle. Today we are going to be talking about how to use assists. Basically the absolute basics for using assists in this game, how to think about using them if you're brand new to team games, and kind of different use cases for them and how you should be using them during gameplay. So as we all know, in Blazblue Cross Tag Battle you have your partner button, which when you press it is going to call in your assist. Each character in this game has 3 different types of assists. You're going to have your neutral assist, i.e. not pressing a direction. You're going to have forward assist, so if you hold forward and press the P button, you'll get a different one. So let's back up so you guys can see the difference in that one. And of course, we've got holding back, pressing P will give you a different attack. So each character has 3 different assists that all have different uses, and there are some similarities between these. In general, your neutral assist with a character is going to kind of be this long-moving forward slash of sorts. The forward assist is typically going to be some kind of longer-reaching projectile or something that multi-hits that has some lockdown. And then your back assist is typically going to be something that's a little bit more character-specific. So the reason why it's important to remember that you have 3 of these is because they all have different uses and can be used for different points in combo extensions and using them in pressure, and that's something that we're going to go over here in a minute. Now, if you've never played a team fighting game before, it can get a little tricky getting used to the fact that you have 2 characters that you can control. So we're not going to be going into complicated cross combos or meter management or anything like that. I just want to go over some of the basic examples of when you should be using assists and how to utilize them as a newcomer to team fighters. So the first and most basic is using assists for combo extensions. And this can be a little tricky if you're trying to, pick up how to do combos in the first place. But the general idea is that somewhere in your combo, whether at the end of it or partway through, you're going to use your assist call in order to add hit stun to the other guy and extend your combo. So one really good common example of this is to do this during any kind of knockdown or wall splat. So for example, with Ruby, if I can do this combo. And so after the knock up there from Hyde, if I did this correctly, we'd be able to extend the combo. So let's try this again. I had this totally down before. This is why this is going to end up getting all sorts of cuts. Alright, so we didn't get the full ender right there, but that's the basic idea. Do this after the hard knockdown. Hyde comes out, picks him up, Ruby dashes forward, and we get to go and extend the combo a little bit. This also works for things that are in earlier portions of the combo, where if you want to call them out early, you can do this after, let's say, 5 BBB instead of going into the air combo. Hyde comes out, the extension happens, and then you get a little bit of corner carry or whatever you want to do for the ending of the combo. So, and this works universally with every kind of character because these assists, as you can see, when the flash comes out from Gord here, they all have a long amount of hit stun. So even if you hit somebody in neutral with one of these, you can usually run up and do some kind of damage afterwards. We can see there that we're extending the combo, even if it starts with the tag, which is something we'll talk about in a second. But everybody has these kind of basic extension ideas where somewhere in the knockdown or somewhere in the combo, you can call your assist and you can run up and keep doing stuff. So again, usually these are during knockdown points. Usually these are during instances where the combo is about to end otherwise. And that's generally what you want to look for, is either some sort of move that knocks people down or some midpoint in the combo where you can call your assist, stop pressing buttons for a second, and then run up and continue to attack after the assist call comes out. It does take a little bit of practice and timing. Like, these aren't my main characters. These are just kind of combo ideas that I've just been landing, messing around in training room. And that's usually the best place to practice doing it, right? Is hopping in training mode and getting used for where those extensions are. They're different for every character. and they're definitely something that you should experiment with. All right, moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about using assists for getting in during neutrals. So an example of this is we're going to go ahead and set our dummy character here to block. All right, so in this case, we've got our character set here to block. And we can see that on all these assists, we've got these multiple hits, and that for some of them, the blocking portion is going to last longer than others. And they also have different travel distances. So we can see full screen, for example, this one from Hyde, his neutral assist, doesn't go full screen. Even Ruby, who's a ridiculous character, doesn't go full screen either. But they both have projectiles on their forward assists that go full screen. So if Gord is over here and Gordeau is doing his normal 5B match that goes almost full screen, one of the ways to get in is to call your assist and time your run-in with the assist. So you get in as the projectile is coming in, and so if they're blocking, you still have an opportunity to come in and do an attack. So the assist is covering your approach. And this technique's going to vary based on the ease of which this technique works is going to change dramatically based on what the assist call is like. But if you're having trouble getting in, you want to think of this type of assist as a good way to break through zoners, to deal with people who are playing really defensively, who are keeping you out with bigger buttons. Because you can see, especially with this Hyde assist, because there's so much block stun here, like you just get to run in for free, and now all of a sudden you're on top of them. You're just trailing right behind that projectile and using it for cover. And even if they hit you in the middle of this process, that projectile is going to continue to travel, and you're going to be able to go in there. And if you look at this, you can see that like the blocking animation here for Godot doesn't change at all. This is something that is just a great way to get in. So using assists for getting in during neutral is really important. And at first, it doesn't really make sense. And if you're struggling with trying to get in with people, it's largely because you're not utilizing this tactic as well as you could. This is a huge component for any team game, and in Blazblue Cross Tag Battle, it's definitely a big deal. One of the other really important things for assists is also for extending your pressure safely. And this is something you'll see a lot of mid to top level players doing is if we're gonna use one of the most valuable tools in the training room to example this. If we go over to, let's see, counterattack settings, if we set this to reversal action, basically what this means is that as soon as there is a gap in our combo, Gordeau is gonna DP. So if we're over here mashing A, as soon as he has the ability to DP, he's going to DP. So the reason why this is important is because it gives you an idea of how you can use assists to extend pressure. So if we're over here and we're mashing our 5B combo, right? It's empty over here, and we all know Ruby can do this, right? We all know she can do that afterwards, but there's a DP gap, right? There's a DP gap. It's not great with Ruby because he still punishes DPs, right? But we can see where the gap is. So let's say we know this person is blocking, and this DP here is just an example. They could jump out, they could backdash, do all sorts of things. So let's say we really want to lock them down after this. If we time our assist call correctly with a special, and we do this correctly, we can see how the assist there is continuing on the pressure. Right? The DP won't come out until after the assist is done. So if our timing is good, and we do this with a little bit of practice, we should be able to beat the DP. Whop. Again, this is an advanced level thing, and these are not my main characters, but this is the theory. Right? The assist comes out, and we'll be able to prevent him from being able to take an action if we have the correct timing on this. Bump, bump, bump. Trying to think of something else that we could do after that, just to demonstrate the block stun. Maybe projectile. Bump, bump, bump. See how the timing on this is pretty specific as well? So you need to make sure that it's happening during the proper amount of stun. Let's see if we can find something with hide here. Bum bum bum. I just really wanted to do a combo after watching him ETPs. Let's show a different example of this real quick, because this is something that I do wanna emphasize. Let's see. So I guess we can demonstrate this with like Chie and Jin, since Jin has like one of the most ridiculous assists for this kind of thing.
Get ready.
Because this concept exists with basically any character combination, but it will take a little bit of time and practice to find out what it is for your particular character. So Chie, despite being all pressure looking and oriented, has a bunch of DP gaps, right? So even in just like her basic A combo, there's a DP gap. In her B combo, there's a DP gap, right? So her 4A combo is the one with all the lockdown, right? Won't be able to do it until afterwards. So what we've got with Jin is his 6P is this big, slow, multi-hitting projectile with lots of block stun, right? So we can see the extension if we do this right. All right. Bum bum bum. Oh god, I cannot do this for the life of me. Alright, we're gonna stop trying to demonstrate this because I think I could end up going all night with it. This is actually one of the things that I've been meaning to lab up with the new team that I'm working on right now, which is Hakumen and Yang. But the idea here of using the assist that you have with lots of block stun to extend your pressure is pretty key. So if we know here, for example, that Jin stopped right here, we want to figure out how to use the assists to extend pressure so that they don't just get a free DP. That's the basic idea.
Let's go.
Alright, let's set the dummy down for some things and talk about the next use case. Where is training dummy? We no longer want him to guard everything. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to talk about as we go back and pick some more standard characters, people suggested we do Ragna and we do you as well. So let's go ahead and test them out. We'll look at their assists, we'll talk about some things. So one of the other main things that you want to do with assists, we talked about combo extensions, we talked about using it as a get-in tool. So we see with you, right? You's got some interesting options for this as well for getting in. You know, he's got the long thrust. He's got the low, well, not the low hitting, but you know, he's got those options. Let's turn this off. And of course, Ragna, his best one, right? His best one being this giant blood scythe, right? If you want to use that to get in, you totally can. Hell's Fang's got a lot of distance. Alright. So one of the other things that you can do is you can also use assists for knockdowns. So let's see if we so we know we can do it for combo extensions, right? But let's say that we just do like a regular knockdown on somebody. What we can do is we can use the assist to cover their get up. So if they get up and they get up blocking, the assist is already on top of them. Let's see if we can actually, is there a setting here for blocking? Guard all, no swap. After first hit. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Maybe it's because it's right. So calling out your assist, for example. Let's say you get a knockdown. You're afraid they're gonna wake up with a DP. what you can do is you can, after the knockdown, your main character can block and you can call in your assist to attack first, right? And this way, if they wake up with a DP, your main character is blocking, it's not a big deal. Here, we'll set them back to reversal action just because this is like my favorite setting. Right, and then you can punish the DP. And this is really good against players who like they want to press buttons all the time, right? So you get the knockdown. Okay, your assist got hit, but guess what? Now you get to do the best combo possible. So yeah, being able to do assists on knockdowns, super good. It's a really good way to keep pressure going and to keep throwing things at your opponent. And also to keep yourself safe at the same time. Whew. All right, so again, those are kind of the basic uses. Those are the kind of the core four. Combo extensions, getting in during neutral, extending pressure during neutral, and using them for knockdowns. Being able to call them during those Oki situations. Now, one of the other cool things that you can do, depending on the characters that you have, is there's a lot of opportunities to do cross-up setups using assists, especially if you have ones that have incredibly long startup times. So let's go ahead and we'll switch to the characters that I'm playing right now. Did they put these in order of entry? Where are they? Oh, they just put all the Ruby characters at the bottom. All right, that's fine. That's fine. All right, but I do want to show you this because Hakumen has an example, a really easy to understand example of this when you're playing him. His assist for 6P is a very slow charge up of his super. And we can see that if this lands, right, this is going to do a boatload of damage. It's really good. And if the sword hits, it does even more damage, right? Because we're Hakumen, and we don't care about the opponent. Now, the basic idea here is that if you cross over this way, the character has to block like it's a cross-up, because they always have to block the way that the main character is facing. So, let's see if we can illustrate this. Blocking everything. Alright, so Grudeau's facing this way to block. Thought I'd turn that off. There we go. And in this case, Grudeau is facing me to block, right? So the idea here is that you can set this up with either really slow ones, right? And do these scenarios where you're basically creating a sandwich, where your hapless opponent in the middle is the meat. And even if they do block the cross-up, right? It's a really disorienting situation to put people in, and a lot of players will just end up getting hit if they're new to the game because, you know, they suddenly got to deal with the fact that there's just two characters on the screen, right? It can be incredibly disorienting. So this is something that's really useful. Now, with slow ones like this, right, like it's a different type of setup because you basically have to cover this assist with your own pressure in order to make it work. But if you're using a fast one, like say Hakumen neutral, right? You can do ambiguous cross-up setups with assists just by jumping, right? So if you jump and call the fast one, for example, depending on when that hit occurs and when you call the button, depends on what side the character appears on. So if you hit it on this side, right? If you hit it in front of the character, it's gonna show up on the right side. If you cross over them, right, it's going to show up on that side. So it can be very ambiguous as far as to which direction people have to block. And it's a good way to set up these like ambiguous cross-up setups using your assists. And at a minimum, it's something that they're going to have to block. And afterwards, you can go in and continue pressure. So these basic like cross-up assist calls, super useful. And this is something that universally applies to like every character in the game because they all have these forward rushing assists. So, you know, you just have to kind of get creative with how you use them. All right. So there's a couple other general questions that people had about team comps and team synergy and how to identify assist synergy and that kind of thing. I don't want to get into that just yet. That may end up being a separate topic. But I just wanted to make sure that I went over kind of the basic concepts and uses for using assists. For me, it really helped thinking about assists as my team gives me 3 extra specials. At any given time, I have a special that my other character is doing. And while that is, resource dependent and timing dependent and other things, I try to think of them as special moves, and that helped me somewhat translate the idea of going from a 1v1 2D fighter to a 2v2 team fighter. What I would like to do before I end this portion is to just kind of go over the basics one more time with this team, especially since this is something that I need to practice anyway because it's my team. So one of the examples I found last night when I was doing this was just like basic air combo with Hakumen, very similar to the Ruby one, right? On knockdown, call the assist, right? And the timing for this is different because the OTG timing, the off the ground timing, is a little different. Let's see, I think I have to do the V ender actually. Yeah, and then we get the big knockback. So like we can see here that yeah, so I can extend with that, or I can instant air dash and do more stuff. Let's see. Right, the basics. Same thing with Yang. I can do the combo extensions. Let's see. Let's see. Right, basic ideas. For getting in during neutral, this is the one that I've been trying to use for Hakumen, right? Because if it lands, because I can run up and I can use it and I can just block the opponent. He either has to interrupt Hakumen or I can hit him afterwards. On the Blake side of things, she has this almost like full screen rush, right? Where even if they do have to block it, going into character settings, sending this to blocking everything, right? So Yang's 4P has this nice multi-hit block animation that does a lot of block stun. So very useful for getting in. For extending pressure during neutral, that's actually something that I've been meaning to practice, but it's probably going to be a combination of like, okay, if I get in with Hakumen, I'm able to come in, I'm able to, do these mix-ups and then carry on the pressure with Yang. Now that's not gapless because, Hakumen is a very gap level character. For instance, like this has a gap in it, right? So what I would need to do is like figure out my assist call timing so that I could go into the overhead low without having that DP opportunity. That's something that's specific to my team and something I'm going to go lab. We did talk about assists for knockdowns, so again, just to reiterate on that, setting this to reversal action. If we knock somebody down and we want to keep pressure going, we call out our assist. If they DP, I get to punish afterwards because my assist went in to do the damage and not me. Whew, that's not gonna happen. And then of course we've also got assists for cross-up combo starts. Whatever that ends up being, making those ambiguous cross-up setups happen for everybody around the globe. And those are the basics for using assists in this game. There's definitely a lot more than that. There are cross combos, there are more setups, there's better ways to do pressure, there's better synergies that are specific to certain teams and all that kind of thing. But if you're new to 2D team games and BBTAG is the first one that you're really trying to get into, these things are a good place to start with, and you can take it on from there. If you guys have any questions, comments, more concerns, or suggestions for other things you'd like to see me go over, leave them in the comments below. I'm going to get back to Twitch chat and find out what these guys are thinking and let all of them laugh at me for the number of combos that I dropped during this explanation. And we have tea. Thank you, wife. Man, I dropped a lot of combos during that. That's okay. That's what slick editing